Hey guys, this video is going to be different from my usual content, and I'm going to be talking about an emotive, sensitive and personal situation. The only people I've spoken to about this is my family and very close friends. But I feel the need to share this with you. This could happen to any one of us. So I decided to create this video to raise awareness about something that's extremely misunderstood. I'm about to bring you up to date with what happened on our return to the UK after our last visit to the land here in Portugal in May 2023. It's a little bit of a long story and very difficult to talk about, so I ask that you please bear with me. Hey everybody, welcome back. So, as the title suggests, everything was going really well until it wasn't. I need to explain this situation before we move on with the story, as this is a major part of the story. However, it wasn't documented, so this is why I'm going to sit down now and explain just what happened. Right, so where to start? I just want to say thanks for tuning in. I just want to say thanks to all our subscribers, and thanks for helping this channel to grow. We left off, we spent the month of May in 2023 here in Portugal. Things were going really well. We had a really positive meeting with the solicitor regarding the visa. We made our way, following that visit, back to the UK. We had a really positive outlook on the future. In all the excitement, you know, we'd obviously bought the land. If you've been following the story, you'll know where we're up to. If you're just tuning in now, I encourage you to go and look at the backstory, and it will make sense. This is the reason I'm making this video, is to try and tie things together before we move on. So we returned, as I said, in June. Really excited about the future, and at that time we were renting property. We handed in notice on the tenancy, ready for the big move, and so we started putting all our possessions and belongings into storage or on the trailer, which we were getting ready to bring over with us. In February 23, I had a major flare-up, and it stopped me in my tracks. I wasn't able to work, and it affected me in a lot of different ways. Rheumatoid arthritis, it's very misunderstood. If you mention arthritis to somebody, you know, or if they hear that you've got rheumatoid arthritis, automatically they think of osteoarthritis. And there's a major difference between the two, although they're both forms of arthritis. Osteoarthritis, it's general wear and tear, and it's localized to a particular joint. Rheumatoid arthritis is a systemic disease. It's systemic in the sense that it's not localized, and it actually affects all different organs in your body, including your brain, your heart, your lungs. They can spread to various organs and tissues throughout the body. It's a horrendous disease, and I've got where I am now just by soldiering on, basically. I didn't handle the disease very well when I was in my younger years. I was put on meds. I was put on methotrexate by my original rheumatologist, like I said, when I was diagnosed in my 30s. I tried to stick it out, but the medication was a major issue for me because I couldn't handle it. It's chemotherapy medication. It was causing me nausea, vomiting, and various other horrible side effects. and I actually dreaded taking it, and it got to a point where I couldn't actually stomach taking them. Just the thought of taking them would make me vomit. I didn't really get on very well with my rheumatologist. We just had a personality clash. I got to a point where I couldn't function. I felt I was trying to go to work. I was being sent home from work because I just couldn't function. And I was trying to raise a family at the time. Children were young. I had a wife and children to support. I was the main breadwinner. I just came off the meds. I stopped taking the meds. I stopped going to rheumatology. Big mistake. Big mistake. I started trying to treat the disease by myself. Looking at various alternative remedies. Handling the pain. And just treating the pain, basically. And, just it was one day at a time. But the pain was there, and I just kept taking painkillers in order to go to work to support my family. So, it was left untreated. The years went by, I was just dealing with it one day at a time. Some days were horrendous. Other days I was able to function. It affects you in so many different ways. Like I said, it's a systemic disease. So I have been struggling with brain fog. Can't think clearly. It's like having a hangover, but you don't enjoy the party, which is a bummer. Fatigue, constantly tired. Yeah, I could sleep for a week, and it's still not enough, because your body is constantly fighting a disease. Your body becomes your own enemy. You've got a battle going on inside. It's like a war going on inside you every day, and it's exhausting. So along with pain, chronic pain, excruciating pain, fatigue, brain fog, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and there's no cure for this. So it's a case of, when you have a disease like this, you just learn to live with it. Every day is a battle in this never-ending war that is your life. So yeah, in February, I had to go and face rheumatology again. I was given a steroid injection, which helped. We had a conversation that was basically, look, if I don't do something about this, if this disease isn't treated, things are just going to go south very quickly. And so I agreed to restart the methotrexate, but this time it was in injectionable form, and hopefully there was going to be less side effects. It would be more manageable, and it bypasses the gastro system, which is where I was getting a lot of the side effects from. The nausea, the vomiting, etc. So I thought, okay, I'll give this a go. I've got to do something about this. It can't be left untreated. I accept that. I've tried other methods, and I am where I am now, so it hasn't helped. So when I returned to the UK, like I say, saw the rheumatologist, put me on the meds. I had to go for various tests, etc., x-rays, blood tests, and all those things that you just don't want to do. I was 2 weeks into taking the medication. I was suffering from side effects. There were side effects, but they weren't like the previous side effects that I had on the tablets. And they weren't very pleasant, believe me. However, I was okay. I was doing all right. I didn't have to go to work. I was signed off work, and so I was just able to ride out that at home. Next thing I know, I get a message from my GP. Stop taking the methotrexate. It's like, wow, okay. I only just started it, and now I'm being told to stop it. Didn't understand why. So obviously, yeah, that was a massive surprise. And they wanted a repeat blood test, which I did. And then later on, I was actually on my way to the rubbish dump, dumping, the last bits of rubbish that needed to go. And driving along, phone goes, and it turns out to be the GP, the doctor. Tells me he's got concerns over the last blood test, and starts telling me that it's serious and I need to isolate myself. So as the world's coming out of isolation, I've got to go in it, and I actually worked all the way through that period. He says, like, if I catch any sort of virus or infection, basically I could die as a result of this. So I'm telling him that, like, I'm due to travel. So this is on the Thursday before we travel on the Monday. The ferry ticket was booked for the Monday. Just a few days away. So I'm trying to tell him, look, I'm supposed to be traveling. And he freaks out and he says, no, you can't do this. If I get on a boat, I'm going to put myself at risk, and he doesn't give me permission to travel. Wow, okay. So we've got the ferry ticket booked. We're due to move out of the house and hand the keys back. Everything's in storage. Basically got a mattress on the floor that we're sleeping on. And, we've got a cooker and a fridge, bare essentials. Everything else is out the house. Wow. What a situation to find ourselves in. It obviously comes as a massive surprise. And obviously you can rebook a ferry ticket, but when do you book it for? So, obviously we were shocked and just could not believe the situation that we found ourselves in. First thing we did was get onto the phone and have a word with the estate agent, because obviously we need a roof over our head. We've got a dog. We can't just go and move now. We're supposed to be in isolation. I can't really do anything. Now, luckily, they understood the situation and agreed for us to go on to a month-by-month tenancy agreement. Thank God, because otherwise I don't know what we would have done. So that was okay. But we couldn't help but think, is this the end of our dream? I had an appointment booked for me. I had to go to the GP surgery, and I had a face-to-face with a doctor. I didn't really know this doctor. He was a locum, and he basically explained to me that there was an issue with my blood. There is neutrophils, which are the white blood cells that fight infections. Those numbers are not in the range, and they've fallen. So I was in what's known as neutropenia. Not a good place to be, because you're very much at risk then of picking up some sort of infection, and your natural defenses aren't there to fight it. Okay, so I was told to go home and basically isolate myself. Don't do anything that's going to put me at risk. And I'd be contacted further down the line, so as to what was happening. So then rheumatology contacted me and told me to stop my meds altogether. They need to investigate this further. They weren't too sure if the methotrexate was having a negative effect on my neutrophil count, the white blood cells. So in order for them to carry out this investigation, I'd had to come off all meds for at least 6 weeks until this they're able to see if they bounce back. if the neutrophils bounce back into range. And then they'd know it was the medication. And they'd be able to do something about it. So, but it turned out that they didn't bounce back. We left Portugal and we got back to the UK in early June. And then I had all this going on when I returned, which wasn't great, you know. So yeah, it was a pretty horrendous situation that we found ourselves in. I was on weekly blood tests at the time. Every Wednesday, I had to go along for a blood test. And so we were living Wednesday to Wednesday, waiting to see if somehow things were going to pick up. It got to the point where we were literally watching my neutrophil count drop every week, to the point where it was like 0.0. Completely wiped out. Just hoping and praying that things were going to work out. But they didn't. So then, after all that, I was referred then by rheumatology to hematology because they had to investigate what this was. This wasn't normal. So I was referred to hematology, and then they began running a bunch of tests as well. So I was on no medication. I had no immune system. So hematology sent me off then to the cancer centre in Clatterbridge. And one of the first tests I had there was an ultrasound scan. They did a scan of my spleen. They wanted to see what was going on there. And that came back okay. Then the next thing was a bone marrow biopsy. That wasn't pleasant. That wasn't pleasant at all. And especially because I caught my wife actually watching a YouTube video on the procedure. She didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was either. And I walked into the room and I saw this on the screen. And I was like, oh, what's that? And discovered it was actually a bone marrow biopsy. Not a good thing to do before you go for one. Yeah, horrible procedure, but necessary. They were able to find what was going on there through it. It was the only way. But I got called in initially by the hematologist following the results, because they run about 5 or 6 tests, through the one biopsy. I didn't know that, but they look at all different things, you know. There's a whole spectrum of results that they can get from it, and everything was looking really good. I think it was like the 5th set of results had come through, and the hematologist was like really positive about everything, and he was hey, you know, things are looking all right, you know. So I was like, whoa, yeah, that's good. Me and the wife, we were thinking, you know, well, there's light at the end of the tunnel here. But the following week, the last set of results came in, and so we had another appointment, and we were there in the waiting room, waiting for our turn to go in. And he comes to the door and looks at me and Lana, and then he says, 1 minute. Goes and gets reinforcements. Couldn't believe it. So because up to this point, you know, we'd always had like one-to-one consultations. But he called the nurse in, and it was a Macmillan nurse. Not a good sign. So we all sit down, and he's like really apologetic, says, you know, we've got the final set of results in, and unfortunately you've got leukemia. Mind blowing. Completely mind blowing. I knew it didn't look good when you sit down with a Macmillan nurse. Never a good sign, but it all happened so quickly. And you're trying to process this, and obviously it comes as a shock. It was not, no one expected that, and I guess you never do. I never thought I'd ever. It's always somebody else, isn't it? You always hear of someone's got cancer, and you're like, oh yeah, nasty. You never think it's going to come to you. But why not? The weird thing is, though, I mean, this form of leukemia that I was diagnosed with is really rare. T cell LGL leukemia. I didn't realize there was so many different types of leukemia, but there's actually quite a lot. And the one I've got is like really rare. Something like 0.02 people out of the population go on to develop this form of leukemia. Unfortunately, it's not one of the really nasty ones, because there's some like really, really aggressive forms of leukemia out there. Luckily, I suppose, if you're going to get it, at least get one that's not so aggressive. I was given that diagnosis on the 22nd of September. So between our arrival back into the UK, beginning of June, so June, July, August, 22nd of September, given that diagnosis. But the thing is, along with the diagnosis, I was put on another set of medications known as GCSF injections. Along with that comes a whole load of other side effects. I was put on 3 injections a week. So what that does is that actually boosts the immune system. It helps flush out old cells, which stimulates the bone marrow to produce new, fresh cells. So it's a lot of fine-tuning, because the methotrexate that I'm on is an immunosuppressant, while these other ones are immunostimulants. So it's been a case of tweaking and fine-tuning the immune system to try and get it stable. So it's not been stable at all. It's been up and down constantly. I joke and say it's up and down like the stock exchange, because that's what it looks like. When you look at it on a chart, it's like up and down, up and down, up and down. Fortunately, I've not had any issues. I've not picked up any infections. And so the hematologist, he said to me, look, you might not have many neutrophils, but the ones I have got a good quality, so got that going for me at least. So the side effects of that have been pretty rough. A lot of aches, pains. You can actually feel it working in the bone marrow, strangely enough. It's like really, there's things going on in there. And it affects, weirdly, you can feel it, when your immune system's up and down, you do get strange feelings going on inside. Sometimes not very nice. You feel weak, you feel lethargic, you feel your bones aching. And but anyway, over time that's been reduced. So 3 times a week down to 2 a week, then 1 a week, and then currently I'm on 1 every fortnight. And I've been on that now for quite a while. Once I was in a semi sort of stable condition, the hematologist actually said, look, you're okay to travel. And that's what we did. As soon as the opportunity was there, we made our way back here to Portugal. Yeah, obviously when you're given news like that, it comes as a massive shock. Not just for me, but for Lana as well. And then how do you break that news to your family? You don't want to make that phone call. You don't want to speak to your kids and tell them, hey, look, dad's not well. He's got leukemia. But that was a conversation that we had to have. Hugely traumatic. Hugely traumatic. But these are all the things that go through your mind. Like, you're given this news, and then you think, well, okay, this is going to impact not just me. This is going to impact my entire family, all my friends. And that's horrendous. That's horrible, So many things go through your mind. Yeah, one thing that I was really amazed at during that time, and it was in such a short space of time too. We were only talking a matter of months. But during that time, I lost just under 10 kilograms in weight and muscle mass. The weight just fell off me. I was skin and bone, and but what's interesting is prior to this, for a year beforehand, before I got ill in February, I've been trying to do all sorts, as I said, to improve my health. And one of the major things that I did do is I adjusted my diet. I became very conscious of food and how food affects us, our metabolism, etc. So I tried giving vegetarianism a go. I became vegetarian. And I was vegetarian for about a year before the major flare-up. One of the major problems I was having, as well as the intense flare-up, the rheumatoid arthritis, and the effects of that, obviously the joint pain, the inflammation, etc. I was having really bad gastro issues. I felt sick. Sounds really gross, but I was bleeding. When I was passing stools, to put it politely. There was a lot of blood present, so I was at anxiety sort of symptoms. I just didn't feel right, not at all. And so that was under investigation. They did all sorts of tests. All came back inconclusive. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. But on reflection, I can't help but put that down to diet. It just wasn't right for me. And I again, when I was off sick, I looked into diet again, and I actually went the complete opposite way, and I went carnivore. I found a lot of research and information on the carnivore diet, and I was amazed. I went onto the diet, started introducing loads more meat, animal products, cut out all vegetables, and within 4 days, literally within 4 days, I felt amazing. All the stomach issues settled down, inflammation reduced dramatically. I wasn't in pain anymore. It was incredible. I could not believe the difference in how I felt in a matter of days. And I've been 100% better ever since then. I've always looked after my health. So for the most part, I've not been like any sort of a fitness freak, but like I come from an emergency services background. You know, I was a firefighter. I've dealt with emergency situations pretty much most of my working life, in one form or another. So I've always had pretty good, robust health. And then, you know, one day I was told that like that wasn't the case. And you never expect to be told these things. You never think it's going to be you. So along came with that, along came the depression. You know, living in pain every day, waking up in pain every day, going to sleep, trying to sleep. You can't sleep because you're in pain, you're uncomfortable, and you're fatigued anyway. And then, you know, you've got interrupted sleep. Anyway, you wake up the next day, it's like, oh, here we go again. Another day of pain. You know, days roll into months, months roll into years. Pretty much from, you know, my 30s up until now, you're faced with pain. You know, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not putting this video out there for that. No, that's not me. Like I said, you know, I put my head down and I soldier on, and I push myself through the pain. And in a weird way, pain actually became an ally. Because no pain, no gain was, you know, became my new motto. And every day became an achievement. I pushed through the pain barrier and I achieved what I wanted to achieve. And that's the mindset that I took on. So no, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not looking for pity. I hope this gives other people inspiration to show you what can be achieved, you know, if you do push on, if you soldier on. And that's the sad reality of living with disease. Every day is a challenge. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It depends on your mindset. It depends on the individual. You could either wallow in pity, we could wallow in self-pity, or you could take on the attitude of, I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm going to do the things that I want to do. Obviously, every day is different. And you have good days and you have bad days. I'm not saying I was able to push on through every day, because I wasn't. I worked until I physically couldn't anymore. Until it became dangerous. Not just to me, but for my colleagues. They relied on me. I had to have a certain level of fitness and ability in order to operate safely. And even with my hands the way they were, I was able to do that. Until I couldn't anymore. And then I knew, okay, time to step away. Time to accept that I'm now putting other people at risk. People who rely on me being able to perform my duties. Doesn't mean I've given up. Doesn't mean I've given up. It's just time to step away. I'm one of the old ones now. And there's a lot of new, young, fit people out there who can do my job. And that's fair enough. Fair enough. I've had a good innings. And now it's time for me to retire. Time to enjoy the land. And do what I can. Pull my weight when I can. But I need to take things easy. And I've got to accept that. I can't do the things that I used to be able to do. But the thing to take away from this is, don't let it beat you. And life's too short. Chase those dreams. And take one day at a time. Because that's all we got. But I just want to say a massive thanks, obviously, to my wife. to my children. You know, you've no idea what it means to me. I know I've been a pain in the arse. Never easy living with somebody who's got a multitude of medical conditions like me. So I just want to say a massive thanks to everybody who supported me on this journey, who've all supported my family as well as myself. I just want to say a massive thank you to you. You know who you are. I don't have to mention any names here. And I know you'll be watching this. Massive thanks. Massive love. Love you all.